Brian, who's also off to the Temples Festival in June and likes the current Bob Mould album, Man After My Own Heart, for Brian Robinson in Falmouth, Cornwall. BrianRobinsonPhotography.com. Other West Country photographers are available. Brian's Good Day Show. Thank you, Brian, for joining us today for Good Day, Bad Day. Bouncing Souls and Lean on Sheena is Brian's Good Day record, and if you like to be on Good Day, Bad Day one of these days, as I always say, it's really easy. If you like to join us, just you can register, you can sign up via the website. If you go to the Steve Lemacq page, it's at bbc.co.uk/sixmusic, or just send us some contact details here in the studio, lemacq.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk. It'd be nice to have you on the programme. Right, as promised, we've been featuring the album during the course of the day, but in the final hour of the programme, well, come with us on a journey from Scout Hut to Top of the Pops via weird and brilliant cover versions, through the patronage of John Peel, and finally to a rather fancy recording studios in West London. It's the story of our classic album of the day, the debut Undertones album, with four of the original Undertones. That's next.
This is BBC Radio 6 Music.
Six Music. Six Music.
Six Music.
It is the Undertones, the opening track from our Six Music classic album of the day, the debut Undertones album from May 1979, and the Undertones are here. Well, one of them's here. Damien, hello.
Hello, Steve.
The rest are in a studio in Ireland. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Steve. Hello, Damien.
Hello with John, Michael, Billy. Let's go right back to before we start, because were you thinking, before we even get to the album, there's quite a lot of history of the Undertones, even before we get to the record, even before punk comes along. So had you started learning to play guitar before then? You go back to something like 74, 75?
74 was the 74 we actually started, or 75?
74.
74.
But you didn't join until 75, did you?
Right. That's what I don't remember.
Until you get rid of your brother.
It's like a mastermind.
It's like the Millibands. It was like the Millibands.
This is a point that should be made just in case people don't know, because the other O'Neill brother was in the band until what? You staged the coup?
I wouldn't put it like that, Steve. Basically, he had to study for his O-levels. That was the excuse.
Right.
So I got in instead.
And what were you listening to? I mean, what sort of guitars did you have? Very cheap guitars?
Very cheap ones. Well, I had actually, I was the first one to have an electric guitar. The others all had acoustics.
Really?
Yeah, I had first guitar ever was a Woolworths guitar.
What was it?
£12 or something.
And who were your guitar heroes at the time? Because didn't you all play guitar? At one point, you all wanted to be the guitar hero of the band.
Yeah, I did. Well, I at one stage I was a rhythm guitarist. I remember that, and then I was told, "No, you're the bass guitarist now."
Right.
But John, you were always guitar.
I was just always rhythm. I was never as proficient as Damien. Damien, I'd been playing from maybe 73.
Yeah.
At an acoustic mostly, and then when Damien was going to join the band, he picked up a guitar. He was, after 6 months, he was better than
Really?
after 2 years. It was that quick.
How absolutely annoying of you.
But it was useful, obviously. We needed a lead guitar player, and Damien fitted it perfectly.
So who were your guitar heroes? Who did you model yourself on, or who did you
Me
want to be?
personally, I loved I loved Mick Taylor from the Rolling Stones.
Really?
Even though there's no way I could ever play like him, but I really I like John Fogerty as well, Creedence Clearwater.
And so you start gigging, and again, you must have done a gig before punk rock came along. Did you play the school or something, or a youth
Scout
club?
Hall, yeah.
Scout Hall. A Scout
Scout
Hall.
Hall.
And what do you remember of the Scout Hall gig?
Well, there must have been about 20 or 30 little kids, scouts.
Yeah.
See, basically, Fergal was a scoutmaster, is that right?
Yeah.
Me?
Leader of the Catholic Boy Scouts of Ireland, Cragen Brigade.
The CBSI.
CBSI.
Catholic Boy Scouts of Ireland.
Yeah. He was only 17, he was about 17.
Yeah.
He was in charge of them every Wednesday night.
Right.
So whenever we were actually booked to do a school concert in March as a warm-up, you know the way the Rolling Stones do secret warm-up shows? We did a warm-up for Fergal Scouts one day.
And what was in the set at the time? Was it all cover versions?
Yes, it would have been. We might have done. Let's see.
Don't Let Me Down, the Beatles.
Oh yes, that's
Oh,
right.
did we do that?
We never got
Don't
played
mind
them.
doing that.
We attempted it.
Oh yeah, I think it was
Badge.
We did play, yeah.
We
too
did
difficult.
Badge.
We did Badge. Carol by the Rolling Stones.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Did we try Sympathy? We did Sympathy for the Devil in St. Joseph's, I know that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
is
actually
hard.
we loved Get Your Yeah-Yeahs Out, the live record Rolling Stones. We really so we did it. We must have covered about 3 or 4 songs from that record.
Right.
And Shake Your Money Maker.
That's right. That was the Fleetwood Mac version, wasn't it? Yep.
It's all killer, this set, isn't it?
It was all downhill from there.
And were you already called the Undertones at that point? No. Well, did you have a name, or more importantly, had you written potential names on the back of your school textbooks?
No. I don't think
I,
we ever did.
I had Jam.
Really?
Yeah, back then, yeah, Jam.
Were you at school with Paul Weller? No, we didn't. We at the Scout Hall we didn't because we didn't need one, because like the Scouts just turned up.
Right.
But then at the concert, we didn't have a name until and this is in the school concert, and the teacher who was organised it turned round and says to Fergal what he called the band, and Fergal says the Hot Rods. And the Hot Rods
I
had
think you prompted Fergal to say it.
I did not.
Oh, you did?
Why on earth would I say the Hot Rods?
Because I think you were panicking.
I wasn't panicking. I didn't think of any name at all. It was him that says the Hot Rods. You're not blaming me, Doherty, in this. I'm an innocent man.
So the Hot Rods, which was a name already in use.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you had to go
And
away.
we knew that.
Right.
We knew there was a band called the Hot Rods.
But Fergal didn't.
He did
I think
actually.
he did.
I think he
It was
did.
just panic.
He just didn't. He says they'll never find out. No one will ever remember this.
When did you become aware of punk? How did you come across it? Was it hanging around record shops? Was it music papers?
I was the NME.
Yeah.
I used to buy the NME religiously every week. It was my highlight of the week was buying the NME. That was from about 1973, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I was aware of it as well through the anime, through John, but musically it was through a friend of ours called Dolan McDermott, and he had a great record collection. And the minute we heard his like New York Dolls MC5, I mean the whole outlook completely changed.
Yeah, he lent us MC5 back in the USA and 2 New York Dolls
And
records.
Funhouse.
Funhouse,
yeah.
and most importantly the Nuggets compilation.
Yeah.
And he had the Ramones first LP as well.
He had it before
76.
anybody. That's right.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So things change. Is that when you sort of begin to evolve into a proper band? Is that when you decide, well, if they can write songs like this?
I think we started speeding up the songs. The covers we were doing.
Yeah.
So well, especially Ed and Hot Rods as well, and Dr. Feelgood. We really loved those bands.
Yeah.
And especially Ed and Hot Rods, because that Live at the Marquee EP.
Yeah.
We loved that. They were doing a couple of covers, weren't they? They're speeding them up really fast. Yeah, played really fast. Well, if they can do it, we should do this as well.
Yeah. But that's true. It was.
Because they did
Get Out of
Gloria,
Yeah,
Get Out of Denver,
Yeah.
Satisfaction, so on. So we used to do Can't Explain by The Who, and I remember we speeded up Can't Explain exactly the way that they did to Gloria.
And it turned into Jump Boys.
And then we were doing Parachute Woman, and we speeded up that as well. And I remember John says he wrote Emergency Cases off the back of that.
Right.
Yeah.
You go and record some demos at some point, don't you? But in a studio which isn't really a recording studio, but you go and demo some of your songs.
That's right. It was April 78, I think. Is that correct, Michael?
I think it was. It was around about Easter '78.
Yeah.
It was at a university, which is actually just across the street from this very studio, this BBC studio, and it was. Someone says it was where they did language tapes. On the walls there were egg cartons,
Right.
with the eggs removed, thankfully.
And-
But I never liked those demos. Really?
No, neither
Did you?
did I.
No. I remember saying to you, Billy, that I didn't like the singing, and you were the same. Even though when you listen to it now, it sounds exactly the same as the first album.
But you did send it off, and you I imagine got some rejection letters. But I imagine rejection letters in those days were brilliant. They were probably just along the lines of "Don't like it, go away."
Yeah, well, some of them were stuff. We did get one of the classic stuff ones, which were great. I think there was a red stamp on it, says "Sorry" in the dumper, and it was signed Eamon Backbite. I remember that, and it says, and I think it says, "Don't be surprised if some of these songs turn up under a different name in the future." So that was great, but we did get a not so funny one from Chiswick and one from Radar as well.
That's right. The Chiswick one really upset us because we loved that label.
Yeah. But we're over it now.
Yeah, we've completely forgotten about it. When do you meet Terry Hooley? When did Good Vibrations, his Good Vibrations label, when does that enter the fray?
Well, I think it started off with a friend of ours, Bernard McAnany.
Well, the background to that is because Fergal worked in Radio Rentals.
Aye.
And Fergal
is Bernie's brother, Sammy.
Sammy McAnany. We would borrow Sammy's van sometimes to move the equipment. Yeah. And then through Sammy, Bernie knew Terry Hooley, and then Terry Hooley, Bernie, back to Sammy, and that's...
But Bernie, a friend of ours, gave the tape to Terry and was sort of saying, there's a great band in Derry, you should listen to them. And Terry, I think Terry says, this is actually true as well, that he never listened to the tape, but because Bernie kept asking him, he says, yeah, okay, just tell them they come up.
Really?
So it was that, so Bernard McAnany is the kind of, I would say, the hero of it, like always, because we would have packed it in, I think, if we didn't get the chance.
But it was sort of, we were also playing the Casbah, a little tiny bar, sort of the rock venue in Derry, for maybe 8 months. Was it?
But it was about a year by the time we did Teenage Kicks.
And like that was just as important as meeting Terry Hooley, because that's when we learned to play and started to write our own songs and get more confident.
Without anyone paying attention to it, which was great,
So that obviously would mean you've played the songs in a little bit by the time you get to record the EP, which is good. Yeah. I mean, it is weird, obviously, to every generation now of music fan knows Teenage Kicks, but can you remember where it was written, when it was written?
Well, in my little notes here...
Very good, Dee.
I think it was written in June 77.
Right.
Yeah.
Along with Get Over You in the same month.
Really?
Right,
Yep.
right,
so very good, John. You were on a roll.
Well done there, sir.
It's all downhill after that then too.
Do you remember writing it?
Teenage Kicks I sort of do, because I remember first work, because again at that time I just couldn't get enough music, to listen to everything, and I discovered that I had a great Dion the Belmonts compilation.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of rock. You can hear a lot of that, those kind of references in the first LP. She's a Runaround from Runaround Sue, things like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I was attempting to try and write a Dion the Belmonts song, as well as I discovered the Crystals and the Shangri-Las and that kind of thing. And a lot of those songs had similar kind of chords that the 3 chords with the minor, relative minor on it and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just sort of as an aside from that, the television LP, there was a song in that called "Prove It." I think it was "Prove It." Anyway.
Yeah.
Again, started off a bit like the first 2 chords that you hear in Teenage Kicks.
Yeah.
So that was the inspiration.
Right.
And then I'm just kind of trying to write a classic rock and roll song. That's what I was trying to do.
And did it always start with the drums? Did it start with that?
I think it did, because I was a huge T-Rex fan, and I loved Get It On. So I tried to
I
sort
remember.
of capture that type of vibe into the track.
I remember you doing that for the first time. The didn't, and I think it might have been from another song that we were trying to learn.
Maybe.
Which, because it was very similar, and you added that to Teenage Kicks, and I remember
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, it's great. It was good. Didn't.
Yeah, it's a great hook, opening hook. Yeah.
Teenage Kicks, which we're obviously not playing because it's not on the original album.
Why would you? It's already there.
Which we'll get to. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll have more from the Undertones after this, which was a song on the first EP. Despite protestations before we went on air, this is True Confessions.
Don't look so surprised. You've been telling me lies. It's hard to wake up to your makeup, so please take off at the skies. Let's sit down and sort this out. What's so hard to talk about? I got a picture from your sister. There was writing on the back.
The Undertones and True Confessions, and it is the Undertones today. It's the debut Undertones album, our featured album of the day. I mean, obviously around the release of the EP, I mean, the story has been told of John Peel's adoration of the record 1,000 times. But I mean, after that first night, though, that John played it, did the world go crazy? Did you even have a manager at this point? Because I imagine the phone starts going.
Well, it took a few days actually for the phones to start going. Yeah, but we didn't have a manager. No, friends were ringing us. You know, because they heard us on the radio, and of course we were really, really excited.
Yeah.
Because he also played. I think it was famously he played it twice in a row
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah.
And he's never done that before.
Yeah.
So we loved John Peel. We religiously, listened to him every night. So it was just an amazing feeling.
What did you do to celebrate? Did you go out and have a celebration?
Probably had a cup of tea.
We never did celebrate. We never did celebrations.
I was too young to drink.
But I mean, at that point, though, then what happens next? Because you're on the radio all the time, which is such a life-changing thing, I'd have thought.
Well, I think Peter Powell picked up on the record and he made it single of the week.
Yeah.
Myself and John, we worked for the civil service.
So did I, Billy.
Were you there as well? Didn't you as well?
He was such a hard worker.
But record of the week was played like at 1 o'clock every day for
Yeah,
the week.
yeah.
So we would time our lunch breaks just to hear the record on the radio.
Really?
That's right.
Yeah, so come into the canteen, the radio would be on, we'd hear Teenage Kicks and have our lunch and go back to work.
And the old lady, remember some ladies that work in there wanted our autographs and stuff.
So record labels, I imagine, express some interest. You ended up signing with Sire. Did Seymour Stein come to see you?
It was actually a representative for Sire called Paul McNally.
Right.
He actually came over to see us in the Casbah.
Right.
But it was that was because Seymour asked him, because
Okay,
Seymour
yeah.
was in London at the time. I think
Right.
he was driving to see the Searchers,
Right.
who were also signed to Sire, the 60s band.
Yeah.
And he was listening to John Peel, and he heard it, and I think he almost did say, "Get me that band." And
Really?
I think that's why Paul McNally, who was running the London office for Seymour,
Yeah.
he came over to Derry.
Really?
I think someone says, I think Andy Ferguson, who later became a manager, says Paul came over really to see if we had any more songs.
Right.
And that's what it was. And he came to see us in the Casbah, in our native habitat.
And did you know he was there? Because I don't imagine.
yeah.
Did
Yes. we-
Everybody in the bar knew. I think we probably dedicated a song to him. There's a man from Sire. This man's come over from London now. Treat him well.
We were actually, obviously, we were really excited because
Yeah.
Sire Records, home of the Ramones,
Yeah,
Talking Heads, the Rosellos.
Yeah, yeah.
Great label, great label.
Yeah. So eventually, I presume, what, they make you an offer, and then did they offer you 12 bob,
Yeah.
and I don't know, a van or something? What was the negotiations like?
Loads of free Ramones records.
You can have your weight in Ramones albums.
Yeah.
There's no money, just as many albums as you can take home. Was it?
They did offer us a contract, and I wasn't there at the time, but someone says that I think Fergal took a solicitor, and like solicitors in Derry didn't really know about the ins and outs of record contracts.
Yeah,
But we had the meeting up in Fergal's front room, in his
Really?
mother's front room.
Really?
The next day, but we were all there. Like Vincent was there, and a couple of our friends were there as well. And I think Paul McNally didn't really know who was actually in the band and who wasn't. But we did sign. 3 of us signed.
Right.
Billy and Damien and John signed, and Fergal and I didn't sign because we thought we could go over and actually talk to Seymour and get a better deal.
Right.
That was the plan. It was just a really good plan, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Except
It didn't work.
because I was there in Seymour's flat
Yeah.
with Paul McNally from Sire, Seymour and Fergal, and my sister's boyfriend, Paddy Sims, who was taking photographs of it, which was great.
Right.
But I remember sitting down and Seymour just started to say, okay. I won't do an American accent, but he was started saying, okay, we're talking, 10 points per first 100,000. And I remember thinking, what's a point? What's points? And obviously he meant percentages. And then he started talking about options.
Yeah.
I remember, I can almost still taste the fear in my mouth when he was talking about after the first couple of years, and then advances, and then publishing.
Yeah.
It does sound really naive, but I suppose the way I remember it was because it was Sire.
You
and
trusted them?
He sort of thought,
Yeah.
the Ramones are signed, so they're not going to rip us off. You'd obviously heard loads of stories about the Yardbirds and all those 60s bands getting ripped off. You never dreamt that was going to happen to us,
But also, you have to remember, people know much more about the music industry these days.
Yeah.
I mean, all new bands seem to know something of the workings of the music industry. No one knew anything about the industry then. The whole indie label scene was only just getting going. So no one really knew anything about the industry, did they?
Whenever Michael and Fergal were with Seymour, they were on the phone to myself and John and Damien back in John's parents' house. And then Michael was saying, well, Seymour's offering us like £12,000. And I was saying to Michael, £12,000 for how long? Is that £12,000 each, or what is it? And he said, like, £12,000 for 3 years. So I was going 12 divided by 3, then divided by 5. And I was saying, we couldn't live on that. You couldn't even buy a cup of tea on that. So it slowly went up. It just came to the point where I said to John, dig out the NME there. Because John was an avid reader of the NME, and I think the front cover was the Pistol sign for 100.
No, so the Rich Kids.
Rich Kids.
Was the Rich
Rich
Kids?
Kids, yeah.
Signed for 100,000.
Yeah.
So I said to Michael, tell Seymour we want 100,000.
No, I think it was 60,000.
60,000 was it?
And I remember he swore.
Oh,
he said bad words.
I could hear him in the background saying, "You guys are crazy." And then he took the phone off Michael and said, "Who am I talking to?" And I said, "It's Billy." And he made an offer, and I just panicked. I said, "That's okay."
Right.
So it's your fault.
It's my fault.
So we ended up basically paying £10,000 each to sing this.
Worth every
But
penny.
at the same time, joke about it now, but at the time I don't remember thinking, oh, we've signed a really bad deal. I just remember thinking, we've signed to sign a record.
And absolutely, Sire obviously reissued the EP, didn't they? You get to do Top of the Pops. I mean, come Christmas 1978, it must have been amazing at the end of 78, just looking back, wasn't it?
Well, being on Top of the Pops for Teenage Kicks, that was the greatest thing, because we always wanted to be on Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
Even though we were breaking up every week. It was just, suddenly we were on, it was great.
Who was on the week you were on? Do you remember?
Elvis Costello.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Michael?
I remember, John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John were number one with Summer Nights, but they just showed the film.
Right.
That's a good question. All I remember, Dollar were on with Shooting Star.
Were they in the studio?
Yes.
Dollar?
They were.
Weren't they notoriously tiny? Dollar. They're very small people. That's all I know about
No, I
Dollar.
don't think they were that small. They were very
not?
clean.
We were small as well.
I mind Elvis Costello saying to us that we're like the Faces.
Really?
Yep. Elvis Costello says he reminded the Undertones reminded him of the Faces.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
I got his autograph. He signed a bit of paper for me.
Did he?
Yeah.
For me, all my ambitions really happened very quickly. You're saying like from 70 right up to Christmas. I mean, we made a record. John Peel played the record, and we got Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
So for me,
You would have gone home happy.
I would have gone home very happy,
Yeah. And you did?
and I did.
Because we were in tour with the Rosillos, you see, who were signed to Sire as well.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a tour which would take us right up to Christmas, but thankfully the Rosillos broke up after about 6 or 7 shows. So Billy and I went home because we get all our per diems in advance. We get 3 weeks worth of £15 a day. Billy and I got it in advance. Did you know that, Damien? That we got the money in advance.
It's a bone of contention ever since.
Obviously, 1979 dawns, and this is the important bit. The next step, which is to make the album, which is our classic album of the day. Just a couple of questions before we get to the news. I don't know where you recorded it. Did you get to go to a posh recording studio?
Yes, it was called Eden Studios.
Right.
I think it was West Acton.
Border of Chiswick and Acton, I
Right.
think it was, yeah.
Was this studio famous for anything? Had there any important records been made there? Did it feel like walking into a piece of history?
I think,
Elvis Costello recorded.
yeah, I think basically our producer, Roger Basharian, picked it. That's where he did a lot of his work. I think Elvis
He
Costello.
year's model.
He was the engineer.
This year's
That's
model.
right.
Well, for me, it was very daunting because I was never used to a studio before.
Yeah.
So we had to actually get Pete Thomas from the Attractions to come down to tune my drum kit.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Came down. And he actually showed me Ticket to Ride as well, Beatles.
Which he used for
Well-
This Year's Girl, wasn't it?
Did I?
Yeah. I'm nearly sure. Dum, tut,
Dum,
dun, tut, tut.
Are any of your songs originals?
No. John.
Of course not.
I'm only pulling your leg. Who chose Roger then? Because you've probably never worked with a producer before.
My memory is that when we did Top of the Pops, Elvis Costello recommended using Eden Studios, and then I think that he was referring to Nick Lowe. Or
We've one of the names we were talking about getting it to
Yeah.
produce us, and then I think it was Pete Thomas
Yeah.
recommended that we get Roger Basharian because he said you'll get him a lot cheaper, and then
Were you talking to Pete
yeah,
Thomas
it was him that said it.
at Top of the Pops?
Yeah, and the bar afterwards. Yeah,
I was up in the canteen getting the cheap food. I must have. Were you there, Damien?
I don't remember that conversation.
No.
Do you remember? I don't know. I imagine that by this point you can, and I don't know how much time you were given to make the record, but I imagine you go in and do you play live? Is everything played live?
Yeah, more or less. I think we were there for about a month altogether. Quite a long time for us. But you see, you got to remember, most of those songs were written during the Casbah days, so we knew them back to back.
well, you got to remember we did get over you first, and we
Oh,
do that.
that's
pre-
true, yep.
We were actually
December 78,
aye.
yeah.
So that was the first time we were in the studio and we recorded you as was supposed to be the next single, or was the next single.
And 2 B-sides as well.
So that we knew what to expect when we went to record a month later.
We'll pick up this story after the news. We'll play a track though to take us up to the news. You can pick a track. Anyone can pick a track.
Damien, go ahead.
I Know a Girl.
It's the Undertones on 6 Music.
I know a girl
Undertones from our classic Six Music album of the day. There'll be more from Damien O'Neill, his brother John, Billy Doherty, and from Michael Mickey Bradley as well. The Undertones Part 2 after this news.
Six. BBC Radio 6 Music.
Six
Music.
Music.
She knows she's never alone. There'll always be somebody who's just hanging around, waiting for a chance to start putting her down. Next time, we'll have to do better. I gotta get up. I gotta get up. I gotta get up. Little Shamey hides in the front of a car. He never learned to drive, he knows it's too late now. He turns ignition on and it's ready to start. As the car begins the move, he feels it falling apart. Next time, we'll have to do better. I gotta get up. I gotta get up. I gotta get up.
Yes, the Undertones from our Six Music classic album of the day. That track and Family Entertainment were my favourite tracks on the album, I think, aside from the singles when I got it. Well, the single, obviously, Jimmy Jimmy. The Undertones and I Gotta Get Her from the debut album, our classic album of the day. Some of the Undertones are in a BBC Studios in Ireland. Damon is here with us in the studio in London. This is the strangest interview I've ever done, by the way. Before we get back to the album itself, you were mentioning you went on tour with the Rosillos in the ends of 78. So you'd have been together, obviously, as a band, you know, in close proximity to each other. But then when you make the album, didn't you all share a house? Is that right?
Yeah, in Smallbrook Mews it was, in West 2.
Right.
It was great. It was.
So you're in West London in a Mews house.
Yes.
The Undertones get you. And what was it like?
It was like Help. It was exactly like Help. No, it was great. It was because I think it was great because we were in a really nice part of town.
Yeah.
But all we did, I think, was whenever we were there, all we did really was listen to records, wasn't it? Really, and go out shopping.
Well, again, Derry obviously was really bad at that time. You know, literally after 6, 7 o'clock, everything shut down up the town, and so just to be able to walk around the city at night was unnerving almost, you know, because you just weren't used to something like that.
But it was great.
Yeah. So did you go out in the evenings then? Was this a chance to explore, or did you just hang out as a gang?
We went to the pictures. I remember we went to see Capricorn 1 with O.J. Simpson. You know, the one about the fake moon or fake Mars mission?
Yeah.
Remember, because the great thing was you could watch film 79 with Barry Norman, and you could go out that night or the next night and see the actual film, whereas in Derry it would take a couple of weeks to get there. I remember that. I remember we saw the review of Capricorn 1 and we went to see it, and it was brilliant. Really good. But I think, Billy, you went home every weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, I went home, yeah. I was a bit of a homebird.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the whole... I loved being in a band, I loved making records, but I didn't like all the trappings that went along with it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't... I just felt uncomfortable with the whole thing. And I still am exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, you like playing the music, it's just all the other bits and pieces that go along. I bet you hated it being recognised in the street then.
Well, it's never really recognised.
No,
No,
you're not.
not really.
No one recognises drummers. The only one recognised was Fergal.
Fergal's, it's true. Yeah.
Really took the pressure off the rest.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It suited me. You know?
Yeah,
no one knows
Fergal came in for a lot of abuse. I mean, he came in for a lot of abuse even before he was in the band. So the band actually highlighted his
And he came in
profile.
for abuse from the band too.
How did you pick the tracks? Did you know what was going to be on the album, or were you adjusting it as you were going along? Certain things worked, maybe something didn't, or did it come out pretty much as you thought it was going to?
I think it did, actually, because we just about had enough songs. Because again, according to my notes, I think Family Entertainment and I Know a Girl were the last two songs written before we went in to record.
Really?
Which was just as well, because actually we probably did record about 20 songs, because a lot of the
I
songs
don't
turned
think
into
we recorded
B-sides.
as many as that. How many were on it? 14,
14, 15, I think.
Like even the very fact we did that.
The very bad version of True Confessions.
Means we'd run out of songs, I think.
Really? Yeah.
I don't think we did. John wrote most of the songs and Damien wrote songs, but I don't think we had many songs. You wrote two for it, didn't you? At least
Yeah, two. Yeah, on the B-side for Get Over You.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, the thing is, it came out. It's a marvellous record because it's about boys and girls and mean people and nice people and odd people.
Yeah.
That's the album.
That's us.
Yeah.
I was creating our own little world, I think. That's what it was.
Yeah. Obviously, Teenage Kicks gets nods towards this, but it was also about what sort of hopes and the daydreams you have as a teenager as well, and the way you reflect on the world around you.
Yeah, well, we did actually toy with the idea even before, we knew when we signed we'd have to make an LP, but we were always regarded ourselves as a singles band. You had to differentiate between the idea of a rock band, which we didn't really want to be, and a singles, again, from our sort of influences of the glam rock thing, and T-Rex and Sweet and Mud and all those great singles that were out in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing. To keep that sort of feel to the record when we were making the songs. To have nearly every song should be like a single.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's got that as well, isn't it? And it was very easy to grasp straight away. But particularly because you name check exactly the same sort of music. My first record I ever bought was Tiger Feet by Muds, and all those records like Blockbuster by The Sweet, they all had something about them, didn't they? But the thing for, I suppose, myself was after there was an age of people who saw the Pistols and the Clash, but I was too young. I was, I think, 13. Coming up through the start of 79. So for people like myself, I was too young to see the Pistols and the Clash. And by this point, both of those bands feel so far away, even though they're sort of they're anti-rock stars. They're still big anti-rock stars that feel like they come from another world. But here we are, the next year at school, and the Undertones were our band. Well, they were, because there was only two things that spoke to us in the playground that year, and that was Grange Hill and the Undertones. Because you were like us. I think that was the thing. It always felt like you were just like us.
I think that's because we were fans of the bands that you would have been fans of as well. You know what I mean? The Sex Pistols and Clash. I always thought we always tried to make records which sounded like records that we liked. There was a lot of that happening. That was in my head anyway. But I can get that as well, because the last thing you wanted to do was to be one of those bands who goes to London and comes back speaking in a different accent, wearing different clothes. Yeah. So I was always very conscious of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing. You could dress like the Undertones.
Wouldn't be difficult to do.
Your mammy bought the clothes.
Talking of singles, then, Jimmy Jimmy was the single which came before the album. It was your first top 20 hit. So Jimmy Jimmy, always going to be the single? Did you pick it?
Don't remember that, actually. I think, but
Not me.
it turned out really, really well. I
Yeah.
think it was kind of obvious it was going to be a single. Yeah.
Who chose it? I think, was it not you and John, Damien? No?
I think I had something to do with that. Yep, I think I did.
Can't
Yep.
remember.
I remember you picked the order of the songs. You were very keen on the order of the songs.
Really?
At the track. Yeah. I remember you had a list.
Well,
I didn't even
just
know
like
what-
I have one now.
Well, yeah, but I always remember that. You definitely had ideas of what you wanted.
You know what?
The
I
second
should have been a
side.
producer. I should have been a producer.
Right. I mean, I don't think you've got enough money from the band as well. You should be getting more of the royalties for that, for all your input.
Is that why you three are in a completely different studio?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, do you remember the album actually coming out, and do you remember actually holding a copy for the first time?
I don't think I do.
And I remember it came out in April. It was April? April 79. Actually, no, I don't remember getting the copies. We obviously must have been all together. I just remember the sleeve, really liking the sleeve though.
I
the
remember
sleeve
that
was
too.
great.
The inside sleeve, yeah.
On the outside and the inside, yeah.
Because the inside sleeve, bright red, some amazing pictures of the band, and the brilliant rant as well.
Oh yeah, that was written on a typewriter. I think it was me and my brother Vincent.
Who wrote most of it?
It was me, actually. I wrote most of it. Yeah.
Although Vinny it was signed Vinny.
I think I did everything, but Vinny wrote the.
Yeah, Happy Christmas, and I hope you're sick.
Because it almost seems part of this. So if you've never seen it, the inside sleeve includes this typewritten rant, which seems to be basically saying we're not like these other bands. We're not like these bands who've taken the dollar. We're not like the people, the heroes who have failed you. We're just the Undertones. We're the same as you.
That's a good point. Well, I think it was. I remember reading that first, Damien. I thought it was great. I thought it was very funny because it was like you were really pissed off at the rest of us. Some of us were not bothering too much.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because you're probably got a point, actually.
Yeah, it was. It was very good.
It's still the same.
Absolutely, yeah.
So as the success comes, though, and you obviously enjoy hanging out and everything, but even at this point, as you were saying, there were weeks when somebody would leave the band. Michael left the band every week. Is that right?
I left after I wanted to leave after the first LP. I can't even remember why, but I remember thinking it'd be neat to leave after the first LP. I don't know. And then the manager, Andy Ferguson, he says, "And what are you going to do? And what did your father do?" And I came up, yeah, good point. So I was back in, yeah. You never left the band, did you?
I never left. I was the only one who didn't leave the band.
Really?
I think, John, you left before we made records. I think it was...
I can't even remember.
Aye. But I think when Billy would have left and so on. But it was what you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the album which was the start of something very special for a lot of us. A band who would soundtrack our teens with an album that still plays well today. And there's more to come from the Undertones, as you'll find out after this. The Undertones on Six Music. What would you like to play next?
Damien, you're closest to the record player.
Male Model.
Male Model, excellent. Male Model by the Undertones. So it's Male Model by the Undertones from our classic album of the day. I'm interested to know what other notes you've got on your list of notes there, Damien. What are the questions I haven't asked so far? That's what I want to know.
Well, kind of notes as influence as well, musical influences. I'd say definitely what I have to say is the MC5 were a big influence on the first Undertones record. You can hear it on me and John's guitar playing. Yeah. There's a dual thing going on between us, but very poppy. Yeah. Back in the USA album, from that album.
Yeah. But you eventually had your own sort of sound though, didn't you?
I think we did, but I don't know what. Maybe Billy playing toms, me and John sort of interchanging guitar riffs. Yeah. We loved guitar hooks, poppy hooks playing, interchanges. It really worked like that. And of course, Fergal's voice made it unique as well. So
yeah. And would you haven't made another record for nearly 10 years? Would you consider making another new Undertones record?
I would, but we need the songs.
Anyone over there in Ireland want to write some songs? Put your hand up.
They're in my other coat.
Would you though? Would you do another one?
I don't know.
We probably would, yeah. Like I do have a few songs knocking about,
Do you?
I'm in the middle of another project at the minute. That's taking up most of my time.
Here's your chance to sell it.
Well, there's no name as yet really, but I've worked with a guy called Lockie Morris before in a band called Rare.
Yeah, remember
So
that.
I'm back working with him again.
Oh, wow. We should mention you are doing gigs together again. Does it all feel sort of the same? Can you tell are there the same signs when you play on stage? Is there a sort of subtle way you know that it's a good gig? Do you turn around? Do you look at somebody and you can tell whether they're having a good time or a bad time?
I think, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
we do,
normally it is. We're a lot more sort of competent. Now, Billy's drumming's as good as ever, and I think that's what it is. It drives it, really. Like, we're all trying to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And I think it really works. But you just know as well if it's good or if you're not. But then again, having said that, sometimes you think, that was awful. Sound on stage was awful.
Yeah.
Then you go out and people say, that was the best I've seen you in years,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's kind of remained throughout the Undertones is every time we played, we'd be very critical. If we made a mistake,
Yeah.
it was positive feedback. It wasn't, you made a mistake and you're crap. I mean, we'd say, like, you need to tighten this up or do that. And that's always, that theme has always gone through with the band, even today. When we play, if there's a mistake or we go too fast or make a mistake, we would say
It's never fast enough.
that's it. Yeah.
I was going to ask if it's the other way round, whether Billy has to slow down a bit when he can see you lads out of puff.
No, we're actually getting faster.
yeah.
We actually used to use a metronome.
A click track to
That
keep
was
no
the
good.
And it was fine, but it lost the kind of the feel.
That was about 10 years ago we used to use that.
Yeah.
I think,
The dates, by the way, there's a couple next month in Dublin and Belfast. There's festivals in the summer. There's a full UK tour in October and November. What's the start of the set?
That's either Jimmy or My Perfect Cousin.
yeah.
Okay. And talking of My Perfect Cousin, there's a limited edition 7-inch version of My Perfect Cousin coming out for Record Store Day with a fantastic sleeve. It's got movable magnetic parts,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to take your word now because none of us have got one. Billy's gesturing.
I didn't even know it was coming out until I seen the email.
I saw it on Twitter.
And then there's people asking me for a copy.
Yeah.
And but I don't even have one.
I have a book out though about the Undertones as well.
Oh, I thought we were going to get through the whole
No.
hour without mentioning the book, My Life as an Undertone.
Yes. Teenage Kicks, My Life as an Undertone, just in case no one knows what an undertone was. They know what Teenage Kicks is.
Listen, thank you very much, everyone. We are going to finish, though, with a song. Let's finish with the original version of one of the songs you covered in the early live sets. So of all the covers you used to play, pick one of those and we'll finish with it.
Gloria by them. That's not
Yeah.
bad.
Fine, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
The Undertones, you've been absolutely brilliant guests. Thank you so much. And we shall finish with this. It's them and it's Gloria. Good luck with the gigs later in the year. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Like tell you about now, baby. She come to